guys, welcome back to A Different Life Story, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today's guest, wonderful Jasmine Sandoval. Jasmine, or Dr. Jazz, shall I really say, is a doctor of nursing practice, and she is a ball of energy who hates complacency. And that is so beautiful, because that is where we so often get stuck. That is the core of procrastination. That is the root of all evil as far as creativity and productivity are concerned. The complacency. It's just fine. It's all good right now. Nah. Today, we're here to shake the foundations. Today, we're here to actually change lives and talk about ways how to move forward, how to beat the inner Schweinehund, as we say in Germany, the guy who makes you, look, it's all fine, you don't need to. Washing up now? Nah, make it tomorrow. No more complacency today. So Dr. Jasmine, it's so lovely to have you on my show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here today and really just being able to speak to people about just tapping into their inner self and changing what was normal and what was comfortable and really just stepping outside of their comfort zone.
And that's so important, isn't it? But
it is.
How did you come to that way of life now? Mm-hmm. What is the background story? I mean, you didn't just wake up when you were 6 and say, hey, complacency, right. No more in my life.
No.
How did that come about?
I'm first generation Vietnamese American. And I think my parents, fought a good fight leaving their homeland in Vietnam and being refugees and making their trek to America. And so it was always beaten into me, like literally and figuratively, that I should be appreciative of all of the things that I have living in this country that I'm in, and just making everything worth the life that they fought for, that they fought so hard for. So that's always been like a message that my parents have put into me. And one of the biggest message that my mom always said growing up was the first English phrase she ever learned, because they had to take an English class before they could finally make it to the United States, was time is money. And so to me, that is so incredibly important on so many levels, whether you're an entrepreneur or anything else. Time is money. And if you're wasting your time, you're just throwing money out the window. And so let's not throw money out the window anymore. And really, let's just make life worthwhile and leave behind some sort of legacy. So
indeed, I have changed that saying from time is money to time is everything. Mm-hmm. It is so important, because as a doctor, I've met so many patients literally on their deathbed. Yes. And no one is begging for another hour in their office. Mm-hmm. Rest assured, there are, when you see their eyes changing with a cancer diagnosis, or if they have gone through a health scare, their life is very different. Their life is no longer worried too much about the past. There's certainly not so much worry about the future, but they come to a point, once the dust settles, that they are focusing right here, right now. They are becoming the masters of mindfulness, of living your life intentionally. Yes. That's a skill that we often forget, or that many of us have never learned. So here you go. So I agree 100% with you. Yeah. But as I said, this is your story today. Right. And whilst it was drummed into you at an early age, did you always live by that credo?
Did I always 100% of the time? No, I've wasted time as well. I've gone through that rebel stage growing up where I felt like, I want to do what I want to do. And so I was quite the rebel towards my later teen years. And then we just had a discussion offline about teenagers and their drama and parenting them. But I've had my share as a teenager, and, I did what I wanted to do. And I, took the more difficult path of not So graduating high school, I was told if I had continued down the path that I was going with the grades that I was receiving, which was straight A's, high grades, I would have definitely had a full ride scholarship to a university. And had I maintained something there, I would have had definite guaranteed admission into medical school, which was my goal at the time, was to become a pediatrician. Instead, I was like, you know what I'm going to do at 18? After high school, I joined the Army. I joined the United States Army and said, they tell me that I can go to college too while I'm in the Army, which is one of the biggest, not lie, but inflated, sugar-coated half-truth that a recruiter can ever tell you when joining the military. It's at commander's discretion. At least 20 years ago, it was at commander's discretion for you to go to school, for them to sign off for you to go to school. And it's based around the missions and the deployments that you have to do. So if you're on a mission or on a deployment, school takes the back burner. So you're going to miss class, you're going to miss assignments. And so I did not get a chance to attend college thinking I was going to be able to join the military, do that and be, G.I. Jane while taking college classes. So really knocking out two birds with one stone. Hey, time is money. Yeah, I was so led down the wrong direction. And I had this wild dream that it was going to happen for me. But instead, I ended up just joining the military, met my husband there at that time, got married very early, very young, had kids very young. And finally, while I was a stay-at-home mom after getting out of the Army and my husband was still a soldier, I said, you know what, it's time for me to get back to school. And that's when I really, lit the fire under my own ass and just said, all right, it's time for me to really get back on this train of what my mom's whole time is money concept is, and doing what's uncomfortable. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have nothing else to do. I felt like I wasn't contributing to society anymore. And so I was just like, you know what? Let's go back for that dream. And if I can't do medical school because I have responsibilities now, I can do the next best thing, and that's nursing. And there's so many different avenues I can take with nursing that, why not?
When you were in the military, was it 2 years or?
I did 3 years.
3 years.
I did 3 years.
Specialty? Yes.
Or I was a combat medic.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
Yes, medical specialist. So it was always medical field. That was destined for me, no matter what. It was always the medical field. And so I loved and enjoyed so much of what I did and learned in the Army. I just wish I would have been able to go to school at the same time, but it is what it is.
And was Army, not Navy or other upper branch.
Correct.
And did you get deployed? Did you use your skills in anger?
Personally, I did not. I did not get deployed. I was actually, when I got out of the Army and my time was completed, my battalion left for Afghanistan at that time. But my husband, who finished his entire service, ended up deploying 3 times. So we both joke and say he's deployed enough for the both of us. But I wish I would have had that opportunity to just experience that in my world and be more humbled by it. But I've heard enough stories from my husband that I feel like I still have a lot of appreciation for everything that our troops have done overseas.
Oh, please. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But there is equally no doubt about it that when you practice medicine in a relatively peaceful setting, even if it is an emergency department at Saturday night, and you could discuss peace.
On a full moon.
Yeah, exactly right. So we all know the stories. That's one thing. No one is shooting at you there. Okay, it's unlikely that you get stabbed. Yeah. That is not necessarily the case when mortars and rockets rain down on your base whilst you're trying to help someone else survive. So it changes you. It completely alters you when you come to that point where you truly fear for your own life. And that's then where the stories of either the growth come out, that you learn to live with it, or indeed later on the story of the PTSD comes out.
Yes.
And it just is, therefore I'm asking, there are very defining moments sometimes in your life. Yeah, exactly. And certainly the American military is known to provide these opportunities to change yourself. No. So you went into the Army and then you said, okay, enough is now enough. So how many kids have you got?
I've got two. I've got a 17-year-old who's preparing to, we're waiting for college admissions feedback. And then I have a 15-year-old who was just in here discussing how to rearrange her bedroom again.
Now, these are important bits, this is, if you think about it, it's all about control. And that's something that we keep forgetting. Here is the bedroom and chaos and everything is changing in this young person's mind and emotions and hormones. And of course, they're trying to control the little things that they can control because so much is out of their control. So here you go. So it's beautiful to hear you talking about all these kind of things. And the reason I say it's beautiful, here you're a woman who are helping others, who are changing. You are changing lives. You're leaving a legacy, and yet you're rolling with the punches because your kids are just the same challenges and whatever is hard cast today will change 180 degrees tomorrow. And that's our life, isn't it? We're constant challenges, constant changes.
Yes.
And
but it keeps us on our toes. So
hell yes. Yes. So here you were, you're essentially saying, okay, I want to get back onto this kind of train, but you've got 2 children. Your husband is deployed. That's not easy. So talk about super mom.
My cousins call me that. They're like, I don't know how you do it. You're superwoman. You're just doing all this. And at the time they didn't even have kids yet. And then as they started having kids, because they, I had kids really young. And so when my cousins finally caught up to having, being mothers and stuff, they realized how much I had done with 2 little kids and a deployed husband at war, where we were losing his friends. His friends were dying regularly while he was gone. And it was one of those things where it's like, a knock at the door was a bad thing. And I wasn't expecting it. Was a bad thing. I was living on base at the time. And, so my husband deployed. The first war deployment to Afghanistan was for 8 months. And he was deployed to an area where they started from the ground up. So they were there to build the facilities and everything. And so when he got there were
which year?
2004. 2004. So he went to Afghanistan in 2004 because my son had just turned 1 year old. So I have a newborn. I have an infant who's 1. He's gone. So he's in an area where there's 0 communications. Of course, technology in general was just beginning, right? So I didn't hear from him for 4 months. 3-4 months, I didn't hear from him except for letters, old school letters, handwritten letters that he sent home. And his letters took almost 2 months to make it to me. But mine, because I started the moment he walked out the door to get on that plane, I started writing those letters knowing it was going to take some time to get to him. Mine were getting to him much quicker. So he was reading my letters like 2 weeks out, and I'm reading his letters that were like 2 months old. And then finally I get the call, because we have a very strong, what we do in the Army, and I think a lot of the different branches do that as well, is we have what's called family readiness group, where they bring the spouses together, and there's a chain of command on the spouses side where my lead, I can't remember what it's called anymore, but my lead was the one in charge of a certain group of spouses. And so if anything were to happen, she would get the phone call first, and then she has to make those phone calls to us. And so it could be anything. So my phone call was, Jasmine, I need you by the phone at around 4:00 on Mother's Day. And then at around 4:00 on Mother's Day, I'm sitting there by the phone, and then I get a phone call from him. And that's the first time, and I've never told this story in public before, but that's the first time I'd ever heard from him in like 3 months. And so that was like the most glorious thing. But then a couple of months later, we had what was called video teleconference, VTCs, which is now widely known as Zoom, Skype. We didn't have this type of technology then. So they had to coordinate that. So now they're coordinating it with the guys in Afghanistan, and then they're coordinating it with the spouses here stateside. And then we're using what's called Zulu time because of the time zone differences. And it was just all kinds of confusion, but we had 15 minutes of face-to-face time on Zoom, and he was able to see his son for the first time in like 4 or 5 months. And it was just, and so that was our first deployment, and that lasted nine months. That was a 9-month deployment. And then the next one now. He deploys, and I have my daughter's turning 1. So I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and he's gone for 15 months. The one to Iraq was for 15 months. I didn't hear from him, or I heard from him, but I couldn't touch him. I couldn't, he was gone for a really long time. And that's when I said, you know what, I am going to go crazy if I keep watching the news and listening about like how many American troops were killed that day. And
I was about to say Iraq, 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
That's when it all sort of started kicking off with Fallujah,
Yes.
with the hard times. What specialty was he?
He was a combat medic as well. But in this case, just like going back to what you were saying before, he was using his skill set on the field while mortars were being, shot at him and driving through IEDs. Yeah. So definitely some tough times, but I needed a distraction. And that's where school became my biggest distraction. So I went back to school full force. And my first semester, 12 to 15 as a full-time credit hour, I took 21 credits that semester. And got a 3.83 GPA. Like I got like a phenomenally high GPA on top of that, because I just was like, I'm going to prove myself that I'm still just as smart as I was, when I left school at 18 years old. I've got to make up for lost time because all my friends are graduating or have graduated now that were, graduated with me in high school. And so I'm just catching up, trying to make up for lost time and just using that as my distraction. And so I went back to school pretty hardcore just to make up for the lost time.
And of course to distract you, and of course to it became nearly a bit of an addiction, you could say, because suddenly there was you could lose yourself instead of worrying, instead of getting triggered by the daily news and some half-baked news and rumors you hear. You could actually focus on very hard fact rules, okay? When you give that antibiotic, and that happens, and that bug dies. Cool.
Exactly.
No, I can see that. But how do you balance that with your children? What were your techniques? Did you have parents close by, or did you have other people who could take the kids? You were it.
No, it was me. It was me. Well, I'll give my in-laws credit. The second time. The first time I went back, I figured, my in-laws, we were stationed in North Carolina at the time. And I'm originally from Maryland, the DC area. And then my in-laws are from New Mexico, the Southwest area. So there's no family. No, there's no emergency jump in the car and drive. Maybe from Maryland, my mom could have done it if she needed to, but there was definitely no family nearby. So I figured when my husband left for Afghanistan, I have no family. I have no friends in North Carolina. I'm alone in this entire state. So I actually packed up and I went to stay with my mom for a little bit. And then I went to stay with my in-laws for a couple of months. So I wanted them to have bonding time with my son, because I knew they would never get this quality time.
Exactly.
And then the second time around, when I had both the kids, I was working and I was in school. So I stayed put in North Carolina, and my in-laws actually came over for a couple months to help as well. Cause I was just like, all right, this is overwhelming. I'm working and I'm in school and I have these 2 little ones and Jeremy's gone. So I need your help. So they actually did come over and help for a little bit. And that was very helpful. So they stayed for as long as they could. And then they went back. But other than that, it was really just me the whole time. And it was a balancing game. I remember buying like an inflatable bouncy house for my kids, like a little miniature one, and I just let them play in the backyard. And so just finding activities to keep them busy. And then I would take them to the playground and let them run wild in the playground. I'm watching them, but I'm studying at the same time at the picnic table. And it's funny because I just asked my kids that this past weekend. We actually drove back up to North Carolina for a conference that I was doing. And we drove through our old neighborhoods. We saw the house that we're currently renting to a tenant. We did everything. We went to their old schools. Did everything. And then I said, this is the park. This is the playground. And I was like, do you remember that I used to take you guys here every single day? And you guys would just run and like burn out the energy while I'm studying. And they're like, we don't remember that at all. I'm like, good, good. Just remember that I was there pushing you on the swings. And so they don't remember that so I was always in fear that my kids are going to be like, where was mom the whole time we were growing up? She was never available. She was never around. She was always like nose in the books, but they don't remember that. And I'm so thankful for that. And I finished my nursing program when they were, I think, 6 and 4 years old. and they don't remember any of that. They know that I was always in school. Like they've always remembered me being in school to some extent, but they don't remember me like ignoring them, or maybe I felt like I was ignoring them, but they didn't remember that. So that's a good thing.
Isn't it? And it's so important what you're saying there, because every single parent I've ever talked to in my life, they all have guilt feelings. They all, if they could turn the wheel of time back, they would do things different. And it's often brutal what our own mind construes or plays in front of us.
Yeah.
It is. So no, it's really, really good for you to say that. Thank you very much. And I'm sure that so many other women, especially mums who try to define themselves in all these many roles nowadays, that they spread themselves very thin and they feel it. And it's so hard. And that you were focusing on a career and you were focusing on being a mum. Add to that now, some women nowadays want to be showing that they are a yummy mummy, that they are still 21 with a body of 21.
Lord.
And well, that's right, exactly. And then you've got all that social media pressure that they put on themselves, and that they have to be just perfect, just right. And so
Mummy.
at that, no, that's right. So honestly, it is sometimes so hard to observe women trying to fit into absolutely every role they could possibly think about, then add in, they have to be fit, so they run to the gym. And you think, what the hell, girl, give yourself a break. But sadly, there are enough men out there who are doing the same thing. So it's so important to actually hold that mirror in front of our face and your faces maybe out there if you're listening. If you recognize yourself, give yourself permission to take a breather.
Exactly. Yes.
Because that is what you would have done. There is no way that you can go bang, 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 bang. You did a lot of things. How did you unwind? How you can't learn 24/7.
Right.
So what did you do to give yourself permission? What did you do? What worked for you?
I have always been like an arts and craftsy kind of person. And so combining my arts and crafts and just my love and joy for doing that, because it takes my mind off of really having to like critically think anymore. All I have to do is focus on like cutting the piece of paper straight. I remember one of the projects that I used to work on a lot with the kids nearby was my me time was making scrapbooks of them. So I would take their pictures and I would create scrapbooks. So I'm here using my creative side. I'm unwinding. I'm not studying, but I'm not really actively parenting either. Again, just like letting the kids do their own thing and be self-sufficient in the living room while I'm doing arts and crafts through scrapbooks. So still building memories and creating memories. And thank goodness I have those, because at one point you can tell where like life just got out of control, or I just wasn't able to do that anymore. And it just kind of like came to a complete stop. But definitely being able to integrate what I enjoyed doing, which was arts and crafts, into something that was a necessity, which I felt like creating a scrapbook and a memory book for the kids. So
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Did your kids play up? Let's start that again. Every child plays up. Every child sooner or later becomes a challenge to their parent or parents. How did you deal with that?
I'll have to say my firstborn spoiled me, because he's really good. He's a people pleaser. He doesn't want to disappoint his mama. So it's just, he's always just been a good kid, a really good kid. And then he's like me. He's like me in the sense where he's able to see what's happening around him and using that as an example for him to never do that either. Whereas, there are some people in life who, like, even though you see the mistakes being made over there to the right, you're still going to make the exact same mistake, because that's just in your nature to have to do that, to understand that you shouldn't be doing that. But I like to go, oh, I see. Okay. I see that example and I'm not doing that. And so my son was the same way. And so he's been a really, really good kid in that sense. My daughter, oh my goodness, she's the mouthy one. She's the one she's the one where they say, your kid's going to come back tenfold of what you once were. Oh boy, she's definitely, I mean, she's a good kid, but that mouth that she has, sometimes I just look at her and I'm like, but she has a bit of me and my husband. And so we just look at each other and like, what does it feel like to argue with yourself?
Yes.
Yes. That's you that just came out of her mouth. So it just becomes like unbelievable, like joking with each other at this point, because we're like, okay, all right, well, do what I said. And then she throws 10 more tantrums, but still it gets done. It gets done at the end of the day.
Interesting. I can't say that last sentence. It gets them by the end of the day. Yeah, that's still a possibility rather than a certainty. But it is what it is. I guess for me as a parent, the biggest lesson I had to learn was that, does it really matter? Do you really want to write on the principle? Exactly. Is that fight worth it?
Yes.
And
pick your battles.
Exactly. The last 2 years I had to learn, actually, A, for your own sanity, and B, you can shout, you can scream, you can still lose your rag, and I'm a bloody hothead. I mean, deep inside it is. Yes, exactly. It's so easy. And God, when I was still drinking, anger and resentment were big parts of me. Nowadays, not so much, although the old guy still from now and then wants to come out and play. But I must say that it's not worth it. It's so not worth it. And by the time I've now argued with him about principles, I would have washed up myself, or I would have done that job myself.
Yes.
And the other thing I learned is, if you guys are listening and recognize yourself in the frustration, is I've learned that doing the job together is actually such a powerful thing. We both hate washing up. And so let's wash up together. Okay. Or yesterday I came home and I asked my son to sort out our gardening watering system. And he had not done it. And he himself said, look, why don't you come out and we do it together? But he said it in a funky old way. It was clear he didn't want to do it. He's annoyed that he didn't do it. And it was actually in the too hard basket because it's a bitch of a system. It's awful. So we went out there and got attacked by the bloody sandflies, but we sorted that shit out together. And it was such a beautiful thing to do it together. And that is such a beautiful learning curve for me, where I have to say, damn, what would have happened if I maybe had done that at an earlier stage in our lives? Make it a point of doing the chores together rather than insisting that they do them and then getting frustrated that they haven't. So it is.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for that. I'm learning something. It's just. I needed this conversation like 5 years ago.
Well, same here. And that's where we are. We are on a path, isn't it? And we don't have it. We have not read all the bloody user manuals. Damn, I didn't even know that there are user manuals out there. And it's not only today, here in 2021, that I have got certain insights. They come from bad decisions. You learn always from your own mistakes, damn it. But also I learn from all these beautiful people I interview. I've got so many fantastic guests, and to just see what your story was, like you balancing all those ambitions, those visions, the frustrations, the fear, no doubt there was a degree of shame, guilt, all the negative emotions. I mean, how did you deal with them? There would have been so much pressure on you, and there must have been 100 days where you were too tired to read the textbook, or you open the textbook and you read the same bloody paragraph 15 times and you still have not got it because your brain just physically can't do it.
Yeah.
And when that happened to me, I get angry, frustrated. I got angry, frustrated in the past. What about you?
So one of the first classes that we had when I got into the nursing program was actually one of like the career success or the student success centers. And the person who oversaw that center came and gave us like a little spiel on like study habits and such. And, here I am, I'm not 18, 19, 20 years old. I'm older than the rest of the kids in my class, but they all think I'm the same age as them, which is great. But she came in and she said, one of the best things you can do for yourself is to not cram and not overstudy and not overexhaust yourself with that. So she says, the best thing for your brain, and again, I don't have any statistics on this or anything, but I felt like it worked and I used it and it worked for me. But she said, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to study for 30 minutes and then have a 5-minute interruption. It helps and allows your brain to reset. And then you can come back to the material with a fresher mindset and go back to the material and continue reading. So you're never overboggled. There's not too much information in there. It doesn't just become a blur after a little bit. So I did that. I was just like, okay, 30 minutes, 5-minute break, 30 minutes, 5-minute break. Great. So I did the next thing I do, just like my arts and crafts, where it's me being clever with how I use my time. I did laundry. We had laundry done every day for the 4 years I was in nursing school because it was the easiest thing for me to do. Laundry. I pick up the dirty laundry. I take it to the washing machine. I put it in. And then my next 30 minutes, I move that to the dryer. And then I put the next load in. And then the next 30 minutes, I'm folding clothes. And so it's just like, it was perfect.
And how cool is that? What you are demonstrating there is the principle of the 5-minute gardener. You see some gardens are perfect and you ask, and you think, I never see you in the garden. What's the story? And I only do 5 minutes a day, but I do that every day. So one day, 5 minutes, I weed that bed. The next five minutes, I weed that bed. And if I'm feeling like it, I might do a bit more, but otherwise I do at least 5 minutes. It's the same with exercise, the 1 minute. I had a guest on my show who says, look, during the quarantine now, I made a point of doing daily exercise. And I mean it, daily exercise. 1 minute of running, 1 minute.
Oh,
and
okay.
That was all she did. And of course, sometimes the only thing you want to do is 1 minute, but she did that 1 minute. And other days, that 1 minute turned into 30, 60, whatever minutes that she could do. But it was the principle of doing it every day. And that's exactly what you did, the 5 minutes. But then again, you had a bit of a head start there because that would have been the same thing how you attack along a march in the army. You don't just march for hours. You basically march an hour and then 10 minutes break or something like that. So, the breaking down a monumental task into small bite-sized pieces.
Yes.
That's the skill, isn't it? Indeed.
Yes.
Don't just think,
pieces.
oh my God, that is such a big task. No way. Whilst if you say, okay, I actually just walk from here to there. Okay, you walk from here to there, have a break, and then you say, well, actually, now I walk from there to there.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, no, these are all the life lessons that many of us have learned the hard way. I certainly did. I'm Mr. Burnout. I'm Mr. Go, 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 go.
Yeah.
So same with you. Did you experience burnout?
I'll say I experienced burnout. I don't think I experienced burnout while in school. Oh. I feel like school was an okay thing for me. Even in the nursing profession, I don't feel like even when I was working at the bedside with patients and families, I'm not so sure that I ever really experienced burnout. However, burnout is one of the topics and is the topic that I used for my doctoral project. But and compassion fatigue and emotional trauma for nurses and clinicians. But it's not, it's actually not something I felt like I've ever can say I'm completely burnt out. I need to step away from this. But I think it's because I've always been able to cautiously select whatever path I'm going for. It's because I really, really feel it. I'm not just winging it. I'm not just doing it because it was my prescribed path. I'm doing it because it's something that I truly wanted to do. And so I've never really felt burnout, unfortunately. But it's because I love doing what I do. And I think I know when it's time to call it quits, and it's time to walk away from something. And so for sure.
And that's so important. Nowadays, I know that too. But as I said, for many, many years, I've been pushing far too hard. And even last year, for many different reasons, I worked really, really hard, both as a anesthesiologist or anesthetist in my field, as well as establishing my show, writing books, things like that. It was a labor of love. I love every single one of these things. But come December, I was heading towards burnout, and the Christmas holidays came just in the right time.
That's good.
And that's right. But I realized exactly what was happening. I knew I was pushing myself to limits, and I felt the compassion fatigue coming in. But interestingly enough, we all did at work. Every other day, I started our work day by getting my team together and said, hey, guys, just be aware. We are all at the moment making mistakes, little things here and there. And that shows me that we don't give a fuck anymore, that we are all that we're heading towards that burnout. Yeah. So I raised the awareness, I raised the mindfulness on it. And with that, we managed to stay safe, etc. But it was a brutal year for many, many reasons, and for many people out there, no two ways around that. Yeah. But it's that awareness. That is, when is enough enough? When do you do a prophylactic mental health day rather than crashing, burning, having a massive cold, and you have to take a week or two off because you're literally crashed, rather than actually saying, hey, boss, I'm feeling I'm not right. Would it be okay if today or tomorrow or etc. can I take some time off? So important. So well done, Dr. Jazz. You have got insights that are very valuable, and that I certainly did not learn until the last 5 years. So well done you. Well done you.
Thank you.
If you were able to have a time machine and go back to your 17, 18-year-old self, and you could send a message back, what would you send back?
Oh, man. I was doing a lot of things at 7, 18 years old. A lot of things. I have one life regret, and it happened at 17, 18 years old, that I probably would just go back and tell myself, be smarter, be wiser, love myself more, respect myself more, and I think that would be the message to myself, is just love myself more and know my worth more. So
that's really beautiful. Know my worth, because if you don't, and as a teenager, you don't, full stop. Right. You're so insecure. You're so, oh my God. And it is, to help myself see my worth somehow and be reassured that it's going to be okay, that I don't have to try so hard and don't have to appear to be a person who I'm not really deep inside myself.
Yes.
So the social pressure, etc., these kind of things, I would love to tell myself, and I try to tell it to my boys. And luckily, I've succeeded to a degree by modeling that. But blimey, good on you. Yeah. So, Dr. Jazz, here you are now. You have achieved the pinnacle as far as what you can reach in your nursing profession. So you're a clinical nurse, plus you are managerially very versed now with your doctorate. Yes. You're a nurse leader. That is beautiful. What will the future bring? Where is Dr. Jazz going from here?
Well, the future in academia, I don't believe stops here necessarily. I do want to take some creative writing classes, but I'm looking at book writing. I want to write books. I want to write a book about my life and share my story, but then I also want to write a few books, children's books, to help them with their understanding and coping of what happens when they enter a medical facility and have a diagnosis at a young age, or anything, any of the above, anything that brings extra stress and anxiety to a child, because I work in pediatrics. And how can we help limit some of the anxieties that they do have. And so a lot of the things that I do at work is work with the innovation team. And I've heard so many amazing things that you can do with virtual reality, where you can actually allow a child to wear a virtual reality headset and then immerse themselves into getting ready for a procedure. So now you are now in the pre-operation area, and you're going to meet your nurse, you're going to meet your anesthesiologist, you're going to meet your doctor, and you're going to hear the plan. And then they're going to give you your IV, and they're going to give you your medication. And then, what happens there? So it's a very immersive thing. So I want to take that, but bring it back to not everybody and not every hospital is going to have the funding to do something like that. So I want to be able to create children's books that says, listen, I've been given this diagnosis, what's next? And so just maybe I have to do more digging and stuff, but I feel like that's where I want to go next with it. And I've been kind of playing around in the different children book author rooms just to see what it looks like and what my next steps are. I also am the host and creator of Comfort Kills as well. And it's now in season 2, and we're actually starting to field guests for season 3. And so that's doing very well. And it's just a passion project. I'm not selling anything off of it. I just want people to hear stories of others who can inspire them, who have taken their pain and turned it into purpose. And just, if we can change one life with each of my show episodes, and that's all I'm looking for. So I've been busy working with that. And that's pretty much it. And just see where my career takes me next.
Which is beautiful. It's beautiful. You're so open, and you're so like a sponge soaking up the universe's energy.
Yes.
And I think that's the beautiful thing. You never know which door opens. I had a while ago, I had a beautiful interview with CQ. CQ was, or is, a comedian. But prior to being a comedian, he was in the US Army. And he was on the receiving end of some metal that met his meat. And he went through some very dark times. And it's for any of you out there in the military, go back in my show when it was still called My Steps to Sobriety. And his journey is amazing. But then finally, in his journey to beat the PTSD, he finally listened to other veterans who were saying, hey, man, be open. And hey, do you fancy learning how to golf? He said, oh, fuck it. Yeah, I learned how to play golf. So he learned how to play golf. And then another thing came along, and, hey, there's this comedy club. Do you want to come and learn how to do comedy? Hi, why not? Guess what he is now? He's a freaking comedian. Okay, nice. So his message was, that's right, his message was, open the doors, be willing to listen, be willing to try new things. Yes. Don't take accepted things for accepted. Ask yourself, is that really it? And if an opportunity knocks on the door, hell, take it. See what happens.
Exactly.
And that is what this world is offering you every single day. Now, sometimes we don't see it. And I invite you all, open your eyes. And if there is not an immediate opportunity there, well, why not create one?
Exactly.
What is your vision? No, wrong. Start not with a vision. Start with a dream. Have a daydream. So next time you're in the shower, ask yourself, what would I love to do? And just ask your brain that question and see what comes out. Exactly. And then, who knows, maybe that dream can become a vision. And then it becomes a mission when you start breaking it down. And suddenly that mission has success. And wow, there you are. And you have created a new you. You've reinvented yourself. You are this new person who finds success and passion. And as you said, you love to do things that you do. And you were able to break the societal mold. You were breaking the mold that maybe you put yourself into. And the limiting beliefs, and you question those beliefs and look at what happened to you on your journey. Yes. And that's so powerful. And I love it to hear that you actually help others in doing so. So if your story resonates with others, how can they find you?
You can very easily find me on comfortkillsmedia.com. That's the easiest and quickest way to get a hold of me. My email and my social media links are on there. And that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. And I'm always all about connecting with people. If you have a story to share, I want to hear it, and if you have advice that you need, you want to join the nursing profession, whatever the case may be, I'm here. I'm here to give you free advice. I am here all day long. I love helping people and just being able to open doors and open opportunities just through advice, and then, and see where they can go with what I've given them, and know that, deep down 5 years from now, I can say I kind of helped that along. So, yep.
How cool is that, isn't it? Indeed, to put a smile on people's faces, and that is such a beautiful thing. Now that's what I live for. That's what I always did in my field as a doctor, to make people better. But I, like you, nowadays is a time where we can go out there and change lives and make things a little bit better. Yeah. And if indeed, I have to a bit of play my own trumpet here. So if you guys are affected by addiction, or if a loved one in your family is affected by it, and you don't really know how to go about it, My Steps to Sobriety is the book that I've written about my journey. It's full of stories that hopefully make you reflect, and it's full of action plans, what you can do, both addiction related, and then the second part of the book is far more about challenges in life. They will come. Yeah. The depression will be there. Yeah. 1 in 3 chance. Anxiety disorders, all kind of challenges, financial uncertainties, how to deal with all that. So I give you dozens and dozens of action plans in there that you can ponder about and maybe implement in your own life. And just as much as if you were to go in the army on a mission, pretty much, okay, what is the likely enemy that I will attack? What's the environment in which I work, and etc. You prepare yourself for that. And there are certain things that will happen again and again, like people shooting at you from the front. You might have a standard operating procedure, how to engage a sudden contact from the front or from the right or from the rear. That is what you do. Why not do the same standing operating procedures in life? Sooner or later you end up in money trouble. So why not learn something about it? Yeah. You will have a toxic coworker. Sooner or later, you have got a jerk, an asshole, who might even be your boss. Well, why not learn? How do you de-escalate such an idiot? Or how do you deal with your emotions when you can't do anything about it? So stuff like that. Hey, and that's what this book is all about, My Steps to Sobriety. Now, in a wee while, as in today is, what is today? The 30th of January that we are recording here. In February, we're going to release the second version, or the improved version of that, to a much bigger audience. So wait for a moment. So hopefully by the time we are actually broadcasting that, I'll put a bit of an extra minute on there to show you the book. So that's all cool. And that's very exciting. I second Dr. Jazz. If a story is worthwhile living, if a life is worthwhile living, then the story is worthwhile recording. Come on, guys. Guys, live your life, live it to the fullest. And who knows, sooner or later, you're going to be writing your book because you have gone through such a transformation. It is your chance. Yeah. And indeed, Dr. Jazz is here. She has done amazing things. And if her story resonates, look down there into the description of the video or of the podcast and get in touch with her, okay? And see, maybe her creativity jumps across the telephone line or the broadband. And it's a very infectious disease, this creativity and this energy. So let it infect you, okay? Yes. That is not to be said by COVID, okay? COVID,
right, no. That sounds like a good inoculation. We're good.
Exactly. But why not inoculate yourself with some energy and join either my social media or Dr. Jazz's or other people, and don't take no for an answer.
right?
Develop yourself. Go out there, live your life.
Yes.
And this is not a mask. What I'm doing here. This is me. this is me bouncing. I'm like freaking Tigger with energy, and it's beautiful. And it's because I've seen that the very dark side. And Jasmine has gone through some dark moments, and she has refused to give up. And
that's right.
One last tip that you would give to my audience. What would be the one message? I know we have shared so many messages.
Yes.
But what is a core thing that you want to leave my audience with?
I think one of my core messages would definitely just be authentic. Like no matter what it is you do, what path you pursue, be authentic to who you are and what you want to do, and be passionate about whatever it is you want to do. You'll find more joy in doing so and not listening to somebody else, following a prescribed path. Break the mold. If you come from a lineage of doctors and you don't want to be a doctor and you want to be an artist, be an artist. Find your way. You'll be much happier there. I've seen so many people try to please family members and aren't happy in the end. And then having to now go back, and usually it's into the nursing career, go back and do a second or third degree into the nursing career. And I meet them on the interview side as nurses, brand new graduate nurses, well into their 50s or 60s. And it happens. But I'm glad that they finally, at whatever age it was, realized where they belong. And so be authentic to yourself. Know what you're truly passionate, and let yourself drive in the driver's seat and not somebody else.
Beautiful. 100% second that. Guys, you heard the message. So what are you doing right now to make your vision come true? Ask yourself that, and have a fantastic day, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Dream on, dream